Taeyang wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the massive engine before him. The alien machine hummed with power, its blue lights pulsing in a rhythm he had memorized months ago. He was good at his job, too good. That was the problem. The station around him, Nexus Prime, floated in the darkness of space. It was huge, built by aliens who thought humans were nothing special. Taeyang worked here fixing machines, cleaning systems, and making sure everything ran smoothly. The aliens who owned the station never thanked him. They barely looked at him. He was 34 years old and had been doing this for 10 years. Every time he designed something new, every time he solved a problem no one else could fix, the aliens took credit for it. They would pat him on the head like a child and send him back to work. Earth was different now. 200 years ago, aliens came to the planet. Humans were excited. They thought they would join the galaxy as equals, but the Galactic Collective had other plans. They looked at humans and decided they were weak, too slow, too fragile. Not smart enough, the Collective put humans in Class 9. It was the lowest rank, reserved for species that did not matter. Humans could work, but they could not lead. They could learn, but they could not teach. They could survive, but they could not thrive. Taeyang hated it. He saw humans all over the galaxy doing jobs that no one else wanted. They cleaned toilets on alien ships. They served food in restaurants. They entertained crowds with their strange culture. But they never got respect. His thoughts were interrupted by a message on his communication device. It was from Bora, a woman he had met a year ago. She was a scientist who studied how aliens saw humans. She worked on a research ship far from Earth. The message was short but urgent. Taeyang, I found something. Something big. We need to talk now. Taeyang frowned. Bora was not the type to panic. He sent a reply and waited. Minutes later, his device buzzed again. This time it was a video call. Bora's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired. Her eyes were wide with fear and excitement. Taeyang, you need to see this, she said. I found a file. An old one. From when the aliens first came to Earth. What kind of file? Taeyang asked. A classified one, Bora said. It was hidden deep in the Collective's database. Someone sent it to me, a hacker, a young girl named Yunji. Taeyang felt his heart beat faster. What does it say? Bora took a deep breath. It says that humans were not classified as Class 9 because we were weak. We were classified as Class 9 because we were dangerous. Taeyang stared at the screen. What do you mean? 3 years after first contact, human scientists developed something, Bora explained. A new kind of engine. A way to fold space, to travel instantly across the galaxy. No other species had ever done it before. Taeyang felt his hands go cold. That's impossible. We don't have that technology. Not anymore, Bora said. The Collective destroyed it. They took the scientists who made it and scattered them across the galaxy. They erased the research. They made sure no one would ever know. Why? Taeyang asked. Because it would have changed everything, Bora said. The Collective controls the galaxy by controlling travel. Their ships, their routes, their rules. If humans could travel instantly, the Collective would lose all its power. Taeyang felt anger rise in his chest. For 200 years, humans had believed they were inferior. They had accepted their place at the bottom. But it was all a lie. Where is this file now? He asked. I have a copy, Bora said. But Taeyang, there's more. The file says there was a prototype. The scientists built it before the Collective stopped them. It's hidden somewhere. We need to find it, Taeyang said. I know, Bora replied, but we can't do this alone. We need help. I'm reaching out to someone I trust. A ship captain named Hajun. Taeyang nodded. And the hacker, Yunji? She's already on board, Bora said. She wants to help. She's young, but she's brilliant. Then let's do it, Taeyang said. Let's find the truth. Bora smiled, but her eyes were still filled with worry. Taeyang, if we do this, the Collective will come after us. They won't let us expose what they did. I don't care, Taeyang said. For 200 years we've been living a lie. It's time the galaxy knew the truth. The call ended. Taeyang stood in the dim light of the engine room, his mind racing. Everything he thought he knew was wrong. Humans were not weak. They were never weak. They were just kept down by a system that feared them. He looked at his hands. These hands had fixed countless machines. They had built things no one else could build. And now they would help change the galaxy. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the truth was waiting, and Taeyang was going to find it. Hajun's ship was old and beaten. The metal walls were scratched and dented from years of flying through dangerous space. But it was fast, and more importantly, it was his. He had earned it after leaving the military, and now he used it to carry supplies between human colonies. He did not trust anyone easily. The galaxy was full of people who would betray you for a few credits. But when Bora contacted him, he listened. She was smart, and she never lied to him. "You want me to take you where?" Hajun asked, staring at the coordinates on his screen. "Cryo 7, Bora said. She stood in his cargo bay along with Taeyang and a young girl with bright eyes. The girl was Yunji, the hacker. "It's a prison colony, Ice World. The collective sends people there to disappear." "Why would we go there?" Hajun asked. "Because one of the scientists is there," Taeyang said. "His name is Hwansu. He was part of the team that built the prototype 200 years ago. If anyone knows where it is, he does." Hajun shook his head. "This is crazy. You're talking about breaking into a collective prison. If we get caught, they'll kill us." "They're already hunting us," Yunji said quietly. "I hacked their system. They know someone accessed the classified files. They're sending enforcers." Hajun looked at the three of them. They were serious. They believed they could actually do this. He had spent years keeping his head down, staying out of trouble. But something about their determination made him want to help. "Fine," he said, "but if we die, I'm blaming all of you." The journey to Cryo 7 took 3 days. The planet was covered in ice with winds so strong they could tear a ship apart. The prison was built underground, carved into the frozen rock. It was a place where hope went to die. Yunji forged their credentials. She made them look like collective inspectors. Hajun landed the ship near the entrance, and they walked through the snow toward the massive metal doors. Inside, the prison was cold and dark. Prisoners worked in the mines, breaking rocks and hauling ore. Most of them were aliens, but there were a few humans too. They all looked broken. Taeyang searched the records while Yunji kept the guards distracted. Finally, he found Hwansu's name. Prisoner 84729, assigned to Mineshaft 6. They found him working alone, his back bent, his hands covered in dirt. He was 78 years old, but he looked older. His hair was white and his face was lined with wrinkles. "Hwansu?" Taeyang asked. The old man looked up slowly. His eyes were dull. "Who are you?" "We're here to get you out," Bora said. "We know about the Nexus Drive. We know what the collective did to you and your team." Hwansu's eyes widened. For the first time in years, he felt something other than despair. "You know about the drive?" "We found the files," Taeyang said. "But we need to find the prototype." "Can you help us?" Hwansu stood up, his body shaking. "The prototype exists. We hid it before they came for us, but the location was split into pieces. 3 of us had the coordinates. Me, Insu, and Yuna. Where are they?" Bora asked. "Insu betrayed us," Hwansu said bitterly. "He told the collective where to find us. They let him go free. I don't know where he is now." "And Yuna?" Taeyang asked. "She's alive," Hwansu said, "living under a false name on a colony world. Aria 12, I kept track of her over the years." "Then we need to find her," Hajun said. "And we need to leave. Now." They moved quickly through the prison corridors. Hunji deactivated the alarms while Bora guided Hwansu. But as they reached the exit, the lights went red. Sirens blared. "They know," Yunji said. "The Vecren arrived faster than expected. They were the collective's enforcers, tall and armored, with weapons that could burn through steel. They blocked the exit, their voices cold and mechanical. "Surrender the prisoner," one of them said. Hajun raised his weapon. Not happening, the fight was brutal. Hajun fired at the Vecren while Taeyang pulled Hwansu toward the ship. Bora threw smoke grenades, filling the corridor with thick gray clouds. Yunji hacked the door controls, forcing them open. They ran through the snow, the wind cutting their faces. Behind them, the Vecren followed, their heavy boots pounding the ice. Hajun's ship was just ahead. "Go, go!" Hajun shouted. They climbed aboard and Hajun fired the engines. The ship lifted off just as the Vecren reached them. Blasts of energy hit the hull, but the shields held. Hajun pushed the ship into the sky, leaving Cryo 7 behind. Inside, Hwansu collapsed into a seat, breathing heavily. "Thank you," he whispered. "Don't thank us yet," Taeyang said. "We still have a long way to go." Yunji was working at a console when she froze. Her face went pale. "What is it?" Bora asked. "There's something inside him," Yunji said, pointing at Hwansu. "A tracking device. The collective has been following us the whole time." Hajun cursed. Taeyang looked at the old man, who stared back in horror. "We need to remove it," Bora said, "before they find us again." The surgery was rough. Bora had medical training, but she had never done anything like this before. Hwansu lay on the table in the ship's small medical bay, his breathing shallow. Taeyang held his hand while Yunji guided Bora using scans from the ship's computer. The tracking device was small, buried deep in Hwansu's shoulder. Bora cut carefully, her hand steady despite her fear. When she finally pulled it out, the tiny piece of metal glowed red before going dark. "Got it," she said, dropping it into a container. "Is he okay?" Taeyang asked. Bora nodded. "He'll live." But the procedure damaged some of his memory. He might not remember everything. When Hwansu woke up hours later, his eyes were cloudy. He looked around the room, confused. "Where am I?" "You're safe," Taeyang said. "Do you remember the prototype?" "The coordinates?" Hwansu frowned, his forehead wrinkling. "I remember pieces, 3 locations. One is a research station. Helios 9. Another is... I can't remember. And the third..." He trailed off, his eyes distant. "We'll figure it out," Bora said gently. "For now, rest." Hajun called a meeting in the cargo bay. The 4 of them stood around a holographic map of the galaxy. "We need to split up," he said. "The Vecren are still hunting us. If we stay together, we're too easy to find." "Taeyang and I will go to Helios 9, Bora said. "We'll search for the first data fragment. Yunji and I will track down Yuna on Aria 12, Hajun added. "If Hwansu remembers anything else, he can contact us." They agreed and split up the next day. Hajun gave Taeyang and Bora a small shuttle. It was not much, but it would get them to Helios 9. Helios 9 was an abandoned research station floating in the outer rim of the galaxy. It had been shut down 50 years ago after a failed experiment. The station was dark and empty, its corridors filled with dust. Taeyang and Bora walked through the halls, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The walls were covered in old posters and forgotten notes. It felt like stepping into a tomb. "The lab should be on the lower level," Bora said, checking her map. They found it after an hour of searching. The door was sealed, but Taeyang managed to pry it open. Inside, the lab was frozen in time. Equipment sat on tables covered in dust. Papers were scattered across the floor. Bora found a computer terminal that still had power. She activated it and the screen flickered to life. "There are logs here," she said. "From the original team." Taeyang leaned over her shoulder as she scrolled through the files. Most of them were technical notes about the Nexus drive. But then Bora found something else, a personal log from one of the scientists. The voice that played was tired and scared. "This is Dr. Insu. I don't know how much longer we have. The collective knows what we've built. They're coming for us. I made a deal. I told them where to find the others. In exchange, they promised to let me go. I know it's wrong, but I want to live. I'm sorry." Bora's face hardened. "He betrayed them. And he's still alive," Taeyang said. "We need to find him." They downloaded the first data fragment and left the station. Meanwhile, Hajun and Yunji arrived on Aria 12, a quiet colony world covered in forests and farms. It was the kind of place people went to disappear. Yunji tracked Yuna to a small house on the edge of a village. The woman who answered the door was in her 70s with gray hair and kind eyes. But when she saw them, her face filled with fear. "Who are you?" she asked. "We're looking for Yuna," Hajun said. "We know about the Nexus drive." The woman hesitated, then nodded. "I'm Yuna, but that name is supposed to be dead. We need your help," Yunji said. "We're trying to find the prototype." Yuna let them inside. Her home was simple and peaceful, filled with books and plants. She made them tea and sat across from them. "I thought this was over," she said. "I thought the collective had won." "They did," Hajun said. "But we're trying to change that. We found Hwansu. He told us about the 3 coordinates." Yuna's eyes filled with tears. "Hwansu is alive?" "Yes," Yunji said. "And he needs your help." Yuna took a deep breath. "Insu has the 3rd piece. He took it when he betrayed us. I don't know where he is now, but I know he sold parts of the drive to the highest bidder. He's rich, powerful, and he won't help you." "Then we'll make him help us," Hajun said. The 2 teams reunited on Hajun's ship. They now had 2 pieces of the puzzle. But the 3rd piece was in the hands of a traitor. Yunji worked through the night searching for Insu's location. Finally, she found it. He was living on a luxury station, protected by private security. But in 2 days, he was scheduled to meet with the Vecren. He was going to hand over the stolen components. "We have to stop him," Taeyang said. We will, Hajun said, his jaw set. Even if it kills us. The trading hub was called Nexus Point. It was a massive station floating in neutral space where traders from all over the galaxy came to buy and sell. No one asked questions here. It was the perfect place for a secret meeting. Insu arrived in a private shuttle surrounded by armed guards. He was 75 years old now, but he looked much younger thanks to expensive treatments. He wore fine clothes and walked with confidence. He had spent decades building his wealth and he had no regrets about how he earned it. The Vecrin were waiting in a private room. They were tall and armored, their faces hidden behind helmets. One of them stepped forward. Do you have the components? Insu smiled. Of course. But first I want to see the payment. The Vecrin opened a case filled with glowing credit chips. It was enough money to buy a planet. Insu's smile widened. He reached for the case when the door exploded. Taeyang rushed in first, followed by Hajun and Bora. Yunji stayed back, hacking the station's systems to lock down the exits. The Vecrin raised their weapons, but Hajun was faster. He fired his blaster, hitting one of them in the chest. Chaos erupted. Insu's guards opened fire while the Vecrin tried to grab the components. Taeyang dove behind a table, his heart pounding. This was insane, but they had no choice. Insu, Taeyang shouted. We need to talk. Insu stared at him in shock. Who are you? We're the people trying to finish what you started, Taeyang said. We know about the Nexus drive. We know you betrayed your team. Insu's face went pale. That was 200 years ago. It's over. Done. Not for the rest of humanity, Bora said, stepping forward. While you've been living in luxury, humans have been suffering. Treated like garbage, all because you sold us out. Insu shook his head. You don't understand. The collective was too powerful. We couldn't win. I did what I had to do to survive. You did what was easy, Taeyang said. Now you can do what's right. I'm not helping you, Insu said. You'll get yourselves killed. Yunji's voice came through their communication devices. Taeyang, I'm sending you something. Show it to him. Taeyang pulled out a small device and projected a hologram. It showed a family living in a tiny apartment on Earth. The father was working 2 jobs. The mother was sick. The children looked thin and tired. Do you know who they are? Yunji asked through the speaker. Insu stared at the hologram. His face twisted with emotion. My family, he whispered. Your great-great-grandchildren, Yunji said. While you've been living like a king, they've been living in poverty. That's what your betrayal gave them. Insu's hands trembled. He looked at the case of money, then back at the hologram. For the first time in decades, he felt shame. I didn't know, he said quietly. Now you do, Bora said. So help us. Give us the components. Help us finish the Nexus drive. Insu hesitated. The Vecrin were regrouping. They raised their weapons again. Time was running out. Fine, Insu said. Take them. He grabbed the case with the components and threw it to Taeyang. Hajun caught it and started running for the door. But the Vecrin blocked their path. Go! Insu shouted. He picked up a weapon from one of his fallen guards and fired at the Vecrin. His shots were wild, but they gave the team enough time to escape. The Vecrin turned their weapons on Insu. He fired again, hitting one in the shoulder. But there were too many. A blast of energy hit him in the chest and he fell. Taeyang looked back. Insu was lying on the ground, blood pooling around him. For a moment their eyes met. Go, Insu mouthed. Finish it, Taeyang ran. They fought their way through the station, dodging guards and blaster fire. Yunji unlocked the docking bay and they climbed aboard Hajun's ship. The engines roared to life and they blasted away from Nexus Point. Inside the ship, Taeyang opened the case. The components were there along with a small data chip. He inserted it into the ship's computer. A hologram of Insu appeared. His voice was weak. If you're seeing this, I'm probably dead. I'm sorry for what I did. I was a coward. The coordinates you need are encoded in this chip. The prototype is on Talvex Prime. It's in the collective's main vault. They kept it as a trophy, a reminder of what happens to species that defy them. The hologram flickered. Good luck. And tell my family. Tell them I'm sorry. The message ended. The team sat in silence. They now had everything they needed. But the prototype was in the most dangerous place in the galaxy. Talvex Prime, Hajun said. Home of the Collective Council. This just keeps getting better. We don't have a choice, Taeyang said. If we want to save humanity, we have to go. Bora nodded. Then we go, together. Hajun set the course. The ship jumped into hyperspace, heading toward the heart of the collective. Behind them, Insu's body grew cold on Nexus Point. His final act had been one of redemption. Now it was up to them to finish what he started. Talvex Prime was beautiful and terrifying. The planet glowed with blue and green lights, its cities visible even from space. Massive ships orbited it like guards, their weapons always ready. This was the home of the Galactic Collective, the heart of their power. Hajun stared at the planet through the ship's window. "This is suicide," he said. "Maybe," Taeyang said. "But it's our only chance." They needed help. Hajun contacted an old friend, someone he had served with in the military. Her name was Jiwoo, and she was now a commander in the Collective's peacekeeping forces. Hajun had not spoken to her in years, but he hoped she would remember him. The call connected. Jiwoo's face appeared on the screen. She looked older, with short gray hair and tired eyes. "Hajun?" she said, surprised. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet," Hajun said with a small smile. "But I need your help." Jiwoo listened as Hajun explained everything. The Nexus drive, the betrayal, the prototype hidden on Talvex Prime. When he finished, she was silent for a long time. "You're asking me to betray the Collective," she said finally. "I'm asking you to help humanity," Hajun said. "The Collective lied to us. They kept us down because they were afraid. Don't you want to change that?" Jiwoo closed her eyes. She had seen how humans were treated. She had watched her own people suffer. "If I do this and we get caught, Earth will be punished. The Collective will declare humanity a hostile species. Then we won't get caught," Hajun said. Jiwoo opened her eyes and nodded. "Okay, I'll help you. But this is the last time." Using Jiwoo's credentials, they entered Talvex Prime's security zone. The team disguised themselves as maintenance workers, wearing gray uniforms and carrying fake tools. Jiwoo guided them through checkpoints, her rank allowing them to pass without question. The vault was deep underground beneath the council chambers. It was a massive room filled with artifacts from across the galaxy, trophies from conquered species, reminders of the Collective's power. In the center of the vault, on a pedestal, sat the Nexus Drive prototype. It was smaller than Taeyang expected, about the size of a briefcase. It looked ancient, covered in dust, but even now he could feel the energy radiating from it. "There it is," Bora whispered. Taeyang approached the pedestal carefully. His hands shook as he reached for the prototype. This was it. 200 years of lies were about to end. He lifted the prototype off the pedestal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms blared. "They were watching," Yunji said, her face pale. The council knew someone would come for it. The vault doors slammed shut. Guards poured in from hidden passages. The Vecran were with them, their weapons raised. "Run!" Hajun shouted. They fought their way toward an exit. Jiwoo fired her weapon, covering them. Taeyang clutched the prototype to his chest, running as fast as he could. Bora and Yunji stayed close behind him. The guards were everywhere. Blasts of energy filled the corridor. Hajun took a hit to the shoulder but kept moving. They reached a service elevator and climbed inside. "Go," Jiwoo shouted. "I'll hold them off." "No!" Hajun yelled. "Come with us." Jiwoo smiled sadly. "Someone has to close the door. Show them what we can do, Hajun. Show them we're not weak." Before Hajun could respond, Jiwoo hit the button. The elevator doors closed. The last thing they saw was her turning to face the guards, her weapon raised. The elevator rose quickly. Hajun slammed his fist against the wall, tears in his eyes. "She's gone. We can't let her sacrifice be for nothing," Taeyang said. "We have to get out of here." They reached the surface and ran to their ship. Alarms were going off across the entire planet. Ships were launching to intercept them. Hunji worked frantically at the controls, trying to override the lockdown. "Got it," she shouted. The ship's engines roared to life. They blasted into the sky, dodging fire from the orbital defenses. The ship shook as explosions rocked around them. Hajun pushed the engines to their limit, weaving through the chaos. Finally, they broke free of the planet's gravity and jumped into hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines and Talvex Prime disappeared behind them. Inside the ship, the team sat in silence. They had the prototype, but the cost had been high. Jiwoo was gone. And now the Collective knew what they had done. Yunji checked the Collective's communication channels. They've declared humanity a rogue species, she said quietly. They're sending fleets to Earth. Tae Yang looked at the prototype in his hands. It was time to activate it, time to show the galaxy what humanity could do. He connected the components they had gathered. The prototype began to glow. Its energy building. Tae Yang activated it. A pulse of light exploded from the device, spreading across the galaxy like a wave. Every ship, every station, every planet with sensors felt it. The Nexus drive was online. For the first time in 200 years, humanity had power. And the universe was watching. The message spread like fire across the galaxy. Tae Yang's face appeared on screens in every human colony, every ship, every station where humans lived and worked. His voice was strong and clear. For 200 years we have been told we are weak. We have been told we are inferior. We have accepted our place at the bottom of the galaxy, but it was all a lie. He held up the Nexus drive prototype. This is proof. Our ancestors built something no other species could build. The collective knew this. They feared us. So they destroyed our work and scattered our scientists. They made us believe we were nothing. Tae Yang's eyes burned with determination. But we are not nothing. We are capable. We are strong. And it is time we proved it. Join us. Help us build a future where humanity stands equal with the stars. The message ended. For a moment there was silence. Then, humanity began to move. On Earth, people flooded the streets. They had lived in shame for so long, accepting their fate. Now they saw hope. Engineers who had been forced to work simple jobs began coming forward. Scientists who had hidden their talents emerged from the shadows. In the colonies, humans began organizing. They shared the technical data Yunji had stolen. Within days, ships were being retrofitted with early versions of the Nexus technology. They were crude, imperfect, but they worked. Human ships began appearing in places they should not be. They moved faster than expected. They avoided patrols. The collective tried to track them, but it was like chasing ghosts. The collective council convened an emergency session. The chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species. They argued and shouted, blaming each other for not seeing this coming. Finally, the head of the council, a massive alien with 4 arms, slammed his fist on the table. Enough. Humanity has declared itself a threat. We will respond with full force. Every ship, every soldier. We will crush this rebellion before it spreads, the order was given. The largest military fleet in galactic history was assembled. Thousands of warships from hundreds of species began moving toward Earth. But something unexpected happened. As Bora's evidence spread across the galaxy, other species began to question the collective. Small oppressed species saw what humanity was doing. They saw courage. They saw hope. Bora had uncovered more than just humanity's suppression. She found records of other species that had been crushed in the same way. Species that had developed new technologies, new ideas, new ways of thinking. The collective had destroyed them all to maintain control. When this information became public, the collective began to fracture. Some species refused to send their ships. Others secretly sent supplies to human colonies. A few even offered to fight alongside humanity. Hajun organized Earth's defense. He gathered every ship that could fly. Former freighters, colony transports, mining vessels. None of them were military ships, but they had something the collective did not expect. Determination. The Vecran fleet arrived first. They appeared in Earth's orbit like a storm. Their commander sent a message. Surrender the prototype and the traitors. You have 1 hour. Hajun stood on the bridge of his ship. Around him were hundreds of other vessels, all piloted by humans who had decided to fight. He opened a channel to all of them. They think we will surrender, he said. They think we will run. But we have spent 200 years running. Today we stand. The human fleet moved forward. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they had the Nexus drive. They could jump short distances instantly, appearing behind enemy ships before disappearing again. The battle began. The Vecran fired their weapons, but the human ships danced around them. They struck fast and vanished before the Vecran could respond. It was chaos. Beautiful, desperate chaos, but the Vecran were experienced. They adapted quickly. They began surrounding the human ships, cutting off their escape routes. Hajun watched as his fleet took heavy losses. Ships exploded. Friends died. We can't hold them much longer, someone said over the communication channel. Hajun gritted his teeth. Then we hold them as long as we can. Suddenly, new ships appeared. They were not human. They were small vessels from species that had been oppressed by the collective. A dozen species, each sending what they could. A voice came over the channel. Humanity is not alone. We fight with you. Bora, watching from Ha-Jun's ship, felt tears in her eyes. Her broadcast had worked. The galaxy was changing. The tide of battle shifted. The Vecran found themselves fighting not just humans, but a coalition of species. The collective's unity was breaking. On Talvex Prime, the Council watched in horror. Their control was slipping. For the first time in history, the collective was losing. The head of the Council made a decision. Activate the weapon. Deep in collective space, an ancient weapon powered up. It had been built thousands of years ago, designed to destroy entire planets. It had never been used, kept as a final threat. The weapon locked onto Earth. In minutes, it would fire. Humanity's home would be destroyed. Yunji detected the weapon's activation. Her face went pale. Tae-Yang, they're going to destroy Earth. Can you stop it? Tae-Yang asked. Yunji's fingers flew across her keyboard. I can try. Yunji worked faster than she ever had before. The weapon was charging, its energy building to devastating levels. She broke through the first layer of security, then the second. But there were too many firewalls. Too many protections. I can't stop it, she said, her voice breaking. But I can redirect it. Where? Tae-Yang asked. Yunji looked at him. Talvex Prime. The room went silent. If the weapon fired on Talvex Prime, it would destroy the collective council. Millions would die. But if they did nothing, Earth would be destroyed instead. Do it, Tae-Yang said. Yunji's hands shook as she changed the weapon's targeting coordinates. The system resisted, but she pushed through. Finally, the new target locked in. Talvex Prime. On Talvex Prime, alarms blared. The council members looked at their screens in horror. Their own weapon was now aimed at them. Shut it down. The head of the council screamed, We can't. A technician shouted back. Someone locked us out. The weapon was seconds from firing. The council had a choice. Let it destroy their home planet or shut down the weapon completely. The head of the council slammed his hand on the emergency shutdown. The weapon powered down. Earth was saved. Talvex Prime was saved. But the collective's power was broken. The council sent a message to the fleet. All forces, stand down. Return to base. The Vecran hesitated. They had never retreated before. But the order was clear. Slowly, they turned their ships around and left Earth's orbit. On Ha-Jun's ship, the crew erupted in cheers. They had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had won. Ha-Jun collapsed into his chair, exhausted. Is it really over? It's just beginning, Bora said. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. The galactic collective fractured. Dozens of species declared independence inspired by humanity's courage. The Council's authority crumbled. New alliances formed. Species that had been oppressed for centuries came together to build something better. They called it the Free Worlds Alliance, a federation based on equality and cooperation, not domination. Humanity was invited to join as a founding member. For the first time in 200 years, humans were treated as equals. Tae-Yang represented Earth at the first meeting of the Alliance. He stood before representatives from 50 species, all of them looking to humanity for leadership. We did not ask for this fight, Tae-Yang said. We only wanted the truth. But in seeking that truth, we discovered something more important. We discovered that no one species should rule over another. That strength comes not from domination, but from working together. The representatives applauded. The Free Worlds Alliance was born. Back on Earth, Tae-Yang, Bora, Ha-Jun, and Yunji were celebrated as heroes. Parades filled the streets. Their faces were on every screen. But they did not feel like heroes. They felt tired. They gathered one last time on Ha-Jun's ship, now docked at Earth's main spaceport. They sat in the cargo bay, drinking and remembering everything they had been through. Jiwoo should be here, Ha-Jun said quietly. She deserved to see this. She does see it, Bora said. Wherever she is, she knows what we did. Yunji raised her glass. To Jiwoo. And to Insu, they gave everything so we could be here. They all raised their glasses and drank. What now? Tae-Yang asked. Now we rebuild, Bora said. We help create a galaxy where no one is suppressed. Where everyone has a chance. Sounds like a lot of work, Ha-Jun said with a tired smile. It will be, Tae-Yang said. But we've done impossible things before. Yunji grinned. Then I guess we'll do it again. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching through the window as ships came and went from Earth. The planet below them glowed with light. Cities were growing again. People were building again. Humanity was thriving. Months later, Tai Yang stood alone on a hill outside New Seoul. The city stretched before him, its buildings reaching toward the sky. Above, the stars shone brightly. Human ships moved among them, no longer hiding, no longer ashamed. He thought about everything that had happened. The lies, the betrayal, the sacrifices, but also the courage, the hope, the victory. For 200 years, humanity had been told they were weak. They had been told they did not matter. But they had proven everyone wrong. They had shown the galaxy that strength was not about power or size. It was about refusing to give up. About fighting for what was right even when the odds were impossible. Taeyang smiled. The future was uncertain. There would be more challenges, more struggles, but humanity would face them together, as equals, as a species that had finally claimed its place among the stars. He looked up at the sky one more time. They called us the weakest species, he whispered. They were wrong, and now the universe will never forget.